man, I guess it's cold. Oh, you talking about my video camera. My laptop ain't working for it. I found out it's easier to do it like this. Unless you make an hour one, it'll take all night to download. We're going to go to Job, chapter 1. Well, they say this is the oldest book in the Bible, which it probably is. It ain't the oldest story in the Bible. It might be the oldest written down book, I'm not sure. Well, let's start reading here. Chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, so that's where Edom is, in the land of Uz. You see that in the book of Lamentations, chapter 4. Let's turn there. So y'all see that. Does anybody know what the book of Lamentations is at here?
Right up Jeremiah.
Jeremiah. That's Jeremiah's Lamentation. Chapter 4. Turn right to it. And chapter 4, verse 21. Is everybody there yet? Just tell me when you're there. Because for years, we didn't even realize this. And one day the Lord showed me this. But we was all pondering, where is it? Is it down there in Edom? Here it is in the Bible. Rejoice and be glad, O daughters of Eden, and dwelleth in the land of Uz. Okay. So, that's where Job is from, right there at Edom. I thought about this. There's a lot of his friends. And Job knew a lot about the Lord. He knew deep things about the Lord. Knew about sacrifice and worship and stuff like that. I got to thinking about Esau. I believe Esau got saved. God took care of Job's problem and Jacob's problem and saved Esau. And I believe they took that gospel that he preached in the Garden of Eden down there, and they taught him a few things that Abraham taught them. You know what I mean? They taught Isaac, they taught Jacob, because I think Abraham lasted all the way to Jacob. I'm not sure. I think he did. I think I figured that one time. So they had to get the worship of the Lord from somewhere. And I believe it comes from them somehow. Now, I don't know the whole story, but think about it. They knew deep things about the Lord. Even Job's friends that criticized him, they like sowing, reaping and sowing. That comes from Job's evil friend. We hear about reaping and sowing. That comes from Job's friend. He said there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. That don't mean he never did sin, but he was perfect in prayer. He knew what he needed to do when he did sin. That means he went and sacrificed to the Lord. We go sacrificing our spirit to the Lord. We know what to do with our sins. If we fall, we're going to fall too. There ain't none of us perfect. We cannot live this life, the Christian life, from one end to the other without making a mistake. You know, if y'all ever find somebody like that, bring him to me. I think he's an angel of the Lord or something. You know what I mean? The only one's ever done it was Jesus. And we learned that through Paul's writings too. He said, oh, wretched man that he was, right there in his flesh. You know, he said, I seek to do good, but evil's present with me. He's talking about that evil that's in his flesh right there. He says his substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yokes of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest in all the men of the East. This is the greatest man of all the East. And I believe that. And what made him great is because he loved the Lord. All his children were saved. I believe that. That's biblically sound because God said he'll visit your righteousness up to the third and fourth generation. So that's why I know Job's family was saved. I don't believe that they lived right. I believe that Job feared that his sons would sin, and he wouldn't sacrifice for them, because they probably wouldn't sacrifice for themselves. And he knew that they would sin. He knew their lifestyle, but they would save it. And he says in verse 4, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for the 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so. And when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. Notice that. This man loved his family, and he feared God exceedingly, and thinking, man, they ain't living right. I got to sacrifice for them. I got to constantly do this for my children right here. And notice this, every one of them died. Every one of them died at the same time right there. Notice that. They probably was pretty wicked. There's probably a few of them just influenced the other ones, you know what I'm saying? So let's don't let people influence us. Let's always keep our eyes on the Lord like Job. This Christian life is a choice, you know what I mean? You can either choose to do the evil or choose to do the good. Choose to serve the Lord or choose to serve the devil. He says in verse 5 at the bottom, and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Notice that. He was afraid his children would curse God. And that must have been a real popular thing to say, because that's what his wife told him. When she saw him in agony, won't you curse God and die? You know what I'm saying? And he was afraid his children were going to do the same thing. Now there was a day when the sons of God came and presented themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. I've heard this preached in several different ways. You could preach and say, well, the sons of God in heaven came together and Satan came there with them. We don't know that for sure. But you got to think about this too. There wasn't nobody in heaven as far as the children of God at this time. So he can't be talking about heaven. So is he talking about Abraham's bosom when they come presenting themselves to the Lord? I don't really think so, but it could be. I don't know for sure. But Job knew about worship. And every time we come to church, you better believe Satan tries to hitch a ride on my mind. You know what I mean? I know he does my mind. But God comes too. And they're spirit beings. You know what I'm saying? And they can communicate with one another, which they do. We saw Jesus and the Satan have an argument right there in the book of Matthew. And Satan would come. And Satan would speak through Peter. And the Lord said, I rebuke you, Satan. Get behind me, Satan. He was talking to Peter, but he was really talking to the devil. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord allowed this to happen. I don't know. Maybe y'all have thoughts on that or whatever. I don't know. I've heard different preachers preach different ways. But it can only be speculation unless the Holy Ghost puts a stamp of approval on that. And he ain't did that to me yet. But if he ever gives me a shout about it, then I'll know exactly what he wants. And I can tell the difference, you see. I didn't really understand that until I become a pastor. Knowing something from the Lord like that. You know certain things because the Holy Spirit puts a stamp of approval on that right there. And a lot of Baptists don't know about that, about the Lord confirming things and the Spirit of God showing you stuff, and you feel that peaceful feeling. That's exactly what it is, When you don't know something, it's like you just have this uncertain feeling. You see it in Scripture, but you don't know yet. You know what I mean? And I want to know, but we don't always know. Plain and simple, we don't always know. We want to know. We hope it's that, you know what I mean? But he's got to put his stamp of approval on that. So he says, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth? Now God, he even allowed the devil to get stirred up in this matter, because you got to think about this. God made himself known through this thing. This was the most faithless man in the East, most richest man in the East. Everybody watched this man, and then they saw him get sick like he has to lose everything he had. And then God brought him out. So that spread out just like when he delivered the children of Israel out of Egyptian bondage. That put his name all over the earth. Everybody heard about that, see? Same thing happened in the life of Job right here. It was God bringing his word forth. You know what I'm saying? And then Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Has not thou made an hedge about him and about his house? Thank God we got a hedge about our house. Satan would devour us. Sin would devour us. I mean, we could have died from the coronavirus, but the Lord heals all our sicknesses. That's what he says in the Bible, ain't it? He healed all our sickness right there. He said, don't be afraid of sudden fear. Don't worry about by night somebody coming in. God's going to take care of us. Explain something. But the Lord took that hedge down because he was fixing to make himself known to Job more. He was fixing to advance Job more. And Job learned more about the Lord in his later end right there. Not just in money, but his faith was increased even more. He saw the power of God. He saw what God could do and how strong Satan was too. He learned about the devil. And we see that in Job chapter 41, that God Almighty tells us something about the devil that we didn't know. He shows us the devil's body and how mighty the devil is in sense right there. So we learned a little more when this happened to Job. It says, hast thou not made an hedge about him and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. I don't know if the devil really believed that or not, but he challenged God, and that was God's best man as far as the human flesh was concerned. He was the greatest man in the east. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon him put forth not thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Notice that he said the presence of God. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in the elder brother's house. Notice that he could have been the influencer or something. And they all come together. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses were feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. I think the Sabaeans are come from Arabia or something like that. I looked it up a little bit. I don't know much about it. They talked about them being from Arabia or something, or moving to Arabia. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and hath burned up the sheep and the serpents and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell them. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. He's in the eldest brother's house again. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose. I like what Job did right here. Instead of fainting by the wayside and giving up and throwing his hands up, his faith kicked in. His belief kicked in. He just lost his whole family, his children, right there. Every one of them. I think there was about 10 of them or something like that. It said, then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Notice that. He shaved his head. Paul shaved his head in the book of Acts. He went under a vow to God right there. So he shaved his head out of humility and said, naked came I into my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord right there. In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly right there. Most of us would have fell apart if I doubt say every one of us would have fell apart at this. This is a lot worse than we think, especially when he gets his soul boiled. We're going to do 2 chapters today, and I'll comment on a few things that God gave me. And again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also among them to present himself before the Lord, right there. So he presents himself before the Lord so he can do accusation against the brethren. And he does have access unto heaven also to God. And one day God will stop that access. It's in the book of Revelation we talk about that. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence cometh thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect man and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity. And that's what we got to do in the midst of the storm right there. We can faint so easily. Man, if we get sick, we get irritable. You know what I mean? We're not at our best when we get sick. But think about this thing this man was going through already. Although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. Now, I believe that the Lord put this on Satan, actually. He motivated Satan to start doing this type of stuff for some reason. He wanted to make himself known. The Lord uses the devil. He can't use the devil to get somebody saved, but he can motivate certain things to cause somebody to come to the place. You know what I'm saying? They go through some things. Sometimes he turns the devil loose on us all and on this world right here, as we're seeing lately. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bones and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. Notice God did not allow him to die. And I thought about this. He was sore from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. He probably looks like somebody that come out of a fire that was totally burned up. You know what I mean? And another place in the Bible, he says that the worms, look at chapter 7 right quick. Chapter 7, verse 5. It says, My flesh is clothed with worms. Notice that. The man had worms in his flesh. He was busted open everywhere. He had sore boils. Flies came, set up worms. They were eating on him. And clods of dust. That's because he died in ashes. And he had to scrape himself probably to feel the dry sores right there. And they had a system where they jumped in ashes also, and they had things like that. And the type of worship, they jumped in ashes too. My skin is broken, and it was all cracked open. I believe that soul boils, it's going to crack open and became blossom. So look at that right there. Let's go back to chapter 2 here. How y'all doing? In verse 7, 2nd Job, verse 7. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. Let's think about that for a minute. We ain't never faced nothing like that. I mean, you think about getting a sore on the bottom of your foot, you stepped on a nail, how bad it felt. So his whole body was covered with these sores. I don't believe there was nothing that wasn't covered. He said even his servants, they wouldn't even look on him. He said, I called for my servants and they wouldn't even come. He was so ugly and so messed up. His own servants wouldn't even come to him when he called for them. Right there, I'll show y'all that if I can find it. So he said, and he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes Then said his wife unto him. And I noticed this, I thought about this, and I thought, well, this lady's sinning real bad, but just imagine she saw her husband like this, he looked like a monster. And she felt sorry for him and said, won't you curse God and die? Right there. Though it was Satan speaking through her, Job still talked in the midst of all this. Matter of fact, he spoke real good. Then said his wife unto him, does thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. And I think his wife didn't have much to do with him either during this time, because he says, my wife is strange to my breath, right there. She wouldn't come down there and kiss him. She probably kind of stayed away because she was, amazed with, she was grossed out with amazement, This has happened to her husband. She loved her husband. He said, but he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. Notice that right there. He's done lost his family, lost everything he has. His wife telling him to curse God and die, and he still retains his integrity. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women. He's talking about unsaved people. I believe his wife was saved, his children were saved, and then I believe his 3 friends were saved. I know they don't seem like it, but they knew a lot about the Lord. And God spoke to the main one, Eliphaz, and said, hey, you better apologize to Job, basically, and let him sacrifice, or I'm going to deal with you after you're next. So he spoke to that man right there. And they believed in the Lord. Every one of them did. And they knew about God. But they spoke unadvisedly with their lips. They took the wisdom of God and they abused the wisdom of the Lord. You know what I mean? They should have had mercy on them. That's what he told them too. Y'all should have had mercy on them. He said, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, Think about that. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thy integrity? I don't read that. Let's go to verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Nahemathite. I believe I'm correct pronouncing that right, I'm not sure. For they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. Now they was coming to comfort him, they wasn't coming to criticize him. And they was speaking truth at the first. They even said, you've helped so many people, you've not turned away. You know what I mean? They start bragging on him. And then later on, he starts lying, saying, you didn't help nobody, you turned them away. They got hold of mine. And some of them, they knew about God, they knew about the wisdom of the Lord, and they began to say certain things. Like, all of a sudden it went blank from my mind. We'll find it. Let me go ahead and read this. We'll find it. God will bring it back now. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place. And Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Nahemathite, for they had made an appointment to come and mourn and comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off, and knew him not. Notice that. He wasn't recognizable. They lifted up their voice and wept. I mean, it was such a dramatic thing right there. And they saw how terrible they looked, and they began to weep right there. And to sprinkle dust upon their own heads and look towards heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Notice that. They was there for the good. But Satan got a hold of their minds for some reason. And this is how we get the whole book of Job. Because the whole book of Job is about his friends running their mouth about him. And Job coming and speaking certain things. So let's go to, I'm going to point a few things out as I go. Look at chapter 5. Verse 17, and see what Eliphaz said about Job. Everything in these chapters that these guys were saying, they're directed toward Job. And you know that because when Job starts speaking after them, he's letting you know that they're speaking against him. So in verse 17, behold, happy is the man whom God Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty. Now we see Paul wrote that down, and Solomon wrote that down in the book of Proverbs, I think it is. But he's saying to Job, you're sinning. God's chastising you. Don't despise this. That's Eliphaz. Notice he took the wisdom of the Lord, but he applied it in the wrong spot. We got to watch out for that ourselves. For he maketh sore and bindeth up. He woundeth, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee in six troubles, yea, in 7 there shall be no evil touches thee. There shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from the death. Notice that. He was in famine. He was touched right there by the Lord. Actually, Job talks about this, that God did this for him. And what that meant was he allowed Satan to do this. He was speaking the truth when he said God did this for him. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. So let's go to chapter 19. All the way to chapter 19. And chapter 14 says, in verse 1, man that is born of a woman is few days and full of trouble. We know Jacob said that right there. Did he get that from Jacob? Let's see. Did he get that from Jacob? Notice I told y'all who brought the gospel down there. Esau got saved. That gospel got down there. No doubt he come saw his brother too. They was on speaking terms after that. You know what I mean? Who said that right there? Jacob. Wasn't that Jacob? He quoted that in the book of Genesis. Man, he was born a woman is few days and full of trouble. Man, that's so true. Everything could be going lovely. I had this incident happen. I won't name it, say nothing. Everything was lovely, laughing, carry on. Oh, whoa! There was the devil. There was the devil. You know what I'm saying? Out of the blue, try to strike at us. Through somebody we love. Out of the blue. I knew it was the devil. The Lord wanted to show it anyway. But I felt it. Wasn't that the Satan? I know y'all don't want to talk about, but I had an incident yesterday from Satan. And I got on to him a little bit, you know. But I let it go. But I was upset in the Lord for very few hours. I stirred. But everything's okay. Sometimes you have to do that. I don't know how I can get it all the time. What was he trying to confirm something to me? All right, let's go to chapter 19. Now this is where Job really explains certain things. What time is it? Anybody know? All right, I got time for this. Then Job answered and said, how long will ye vex my soul and break me in pieces with words? Notice that. This was his 3 freedoms right here. These 10 times have I reproached me. Have ye reproached me? Ye are not ashamed that ye make yourselves strange to me. And be it indeed that I have erred. My error remaineth with myself. If indeed ye will magnify yourselves against me, and plead against me my reproach. Know now that God hath overthrown me. This is where he starts talking about the Lord. And hath compassed me with his net. But it was to his good. The Lord was allowing this to happen to Job. And he thought, in a way, that God was forsaking him. But he said, in the later days, I'm still going to see you, Lord. You might be doing all this to me, and I might die. But I'm going to see you. And it's in this chapter. I know my Redeemer liveth, and I'll stand upon the earth. He said, though the worms eat this body, in my flesh, I see God. Notice that. That is one saved, always saved. He said, if I'm dying for my sins and you're killing me, Lord, because of this, Still gonna see you one day. Said that in the chapter. So it says, if indeed, that's verse 6. Know now that God hath overthrown me and hath compassed me with his net. Behold, I cry out of wrong, but I am not heard. I cry loud, but there is no judgment. He's crying out to God. God didn't bring judgment. His friends attacked him, but God didn't do nothing about it. This thing was happening. Satan was doing this to him. He cried out, and God wouldn't respond. God was putting him through a test. He felt like he was all alone right there. But he still believed in the Lord. No matter what. He had fenced up my way that I cannot pass. He had set darkness in my path. He's talking about God. He has stripped me of my glory. Notice that. He had glory on the earth. He was the richest man in the East. He was well known. And he was noted for doing what was right. And people respected him. And said, God stripped me of my glory and has taken the crown from my head. He has destroyed me on every side. He was destroyed on every side. Every way you look, the man was destroyed. And I am gone, and my hope hath he removed like a tree. He hath also kindled his wrath against me. He can counteth me unto him as one of his enemies. He's talking about God, right? Man, that's a terrible feeling when you're praying and you don't feel like you're getting nowhere with God. You know what I mean? That's when your faith has to kick in. I've done learned the hard way. Sometimes the Lord will let you down and seem like you've gone away, but if you keep on crying out to him, it's always going to come. He tells us that in the Bible. He said, I'm going to strengthen you. He told me that yesterday. I'm going to strengthen you and help you. Right there. He said, the later rains are coming. You know what I mean? That's why we just got to keep on hoping in him. No matter what the condition is, no matter how bad it is. We just got to keep our faith right there. His troops come together and raise up their way against me and encamp round about my tabernacle. Notice that the enemy did that, and they come and killed certain things. He hath put my brethren far from me. Notice that. And my acquaintance are very estranged from me. My kinsfolks have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. Notice that. Everybody turned their back on Job. Everybody. They that dwell in my house and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. Notice that. Lord have mercy. I called my servants, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife. Though I entreated for the children's sake of my own body, yea, young children despised me. I arose and they spake against me. Even the children were speaking against Job. Think about that. All my inward friends abhorred me, and they whom I love are turned against me. The people that he loved, well, think about that. My bones cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Now that could also mean that, you get in such agony you're not going to eat. You get to the hospital and you can lose a lot of weight and you get so bad sick. I don't know if that's what that means or not. But that is a very familiar saying that comes from the book of Job. By the skin of my teeth. We got in heaven by the skin of our teeth. Here it is in the Bible. Have pity upon me. Have pity upon me, O ye my friends, for the hand of God hath touched me. And God is in control of it all. He's in control of the devil. And nothing can happen to us, no matter if the world's falling apart, unless God gives permission, and if he does, it will all be to our good. Right there. Why do ye persecute me as God? Notice that. friends were persecuted like they was the authority of the Lord. And I was preaching the other day. I said, you know, you don't pray, in the book of 1 John talks about, don't pray for a brother that's sinned unto death. And I said in the video, in the sermon, I said, it's not your place to judge if he sinned unto death. You know what I mean? We're not in the state of God. We're not God. We can only say things like that if God gives it to us. But it's not our place to say, yeah, he done sinned unto death. That's it. You know what I'm saying? We have to be careful about stuff like that. Why do ye persecute me as God, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were not now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book. And they was, for some reason. I don't know if Job wrote this. Somebody was sitting down there writing this. I don't know. Job knew this afterwards, and they wrote it in a book. That they were graven with an iron pen and laid in a rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth. Notice that. He said, all this happened to me, and it seemed like God's against me. He said, for I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand, at the later days upon the earth. He was prophesying right there. He was talking about when Jesus is coming back. He's going to rule this earth. And though after my flesh worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh I shall see God. He's talking about a new glorified body. He's going to walk on the earth as kings and priests. And he believed that right there. Whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold and not another. Though my wounds be consumed within me. But ye should say, why persecute me? Why persecute we him, seeing the root of the matter is found in me? Be ye afraid of the sword, for the wrath bringeth the punishment of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment. And Job knew how to apply when he said there's a judgment. His friends did not know how to apply that. And that's why they spoke out of kilter right there. They should have just had compassion on him. If I saw one of y'all, think about this. If I saw one of y'all and acting like that, I would not start trying to bring your sins up and say, brother, I told you. You know what I mean? I'd be like, man, what can I do? Look. You know what I mean? If somebody started running their mouth and say, hey, shut your mouth. Look at this. That's what they should have done. And Job says that. I can't think of where it's at. He said, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should have had compassion. That's what he says. He called them mockers right there. But this is a lesson right here. And that's why God put this in the Bible. And that's why he allowed this to happen. He said, remember the patience of Job in the book of James. So I believe that's all. I would go in the last chapter, but it's about time to quit. We appreciate what God gave us so far. We love every one of you, and all of you dismissed.